An easy question. I did meet Ubabu Velenkosini Hlabisa, the leader of IFP, Nkatha Freedom Party, in Hermanus at a business conference. And I found myself thinking, so one of their taglines for this elections is "Do it for Shenge," which is Ubabu Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who passed on last year, sadly. They've got him on the posters along with Ubabu Velenkosini Hlabisa.
A bigger image of him than...
No, of course. So the IFP, I think back in 94, enjoyed something like, I think they were the third biggest party, if I'm not mistaken. They had something like over 2 million votes. The next election, they had 2 million. The next election, it was 1 point something million. The next election, I think it was 800,000. The next election, weirdly, Umamuma Kwazamsibi came in with the NFP. And you found the IFP with 400,000 odd and the NFP with 200,000 odd, which if you put them together, because she was an IFP person, it's about 600,000 odd. And then at the last elections, they had 580,000. Now with the loss of the patriarch, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and on this thing of where we come from as a history of black people and tribal leadership, do you think the IFP is dying? Are we going to see the end of the IFP in time to come?
Let me start with the question you didn't ask.
Okay.
They are doing what we criticize, but a beautiful idea that shows I don't have to define myself outside of the previous leader in order for me to carve a political path for myself. I can do it while leveraging whatever may be left of the brand equity.
You don't think it's desperation, maybe?
Call it that.
Okay.
It could be true.
Because it would be beautiful as a humility exercise. It will always recognize Usheng.
It could be true.
Yeah.
Let's say it's desperation. Because remember, when we analyze things, we don't care about the intentions of the right sometimes.
I hear you.
Or the doer. So it may be. But it also is somebody who's leveraging a transition by embracing the old.
Yeah.
Because they are alive, they're going to have enough time to carve a path for themselves.
I hear you.
It's beautiful to see.
Someone was criticizing them and they were saying, but the ANC also at times uses the faces of Or Tambo, Nelson Mandela.
Except that it's been difficult to use the very the very next person that you are succeeding.
Of course.
But to a question you asked, they were on a continuous decline until 2016. In 2016, NFP doesn't come and show up through due to poor administration, doesn't show up in the ballot. The IFP becomes the comeback child of that election. We ask ourselves, will it continue in 19? And it did in 2019. Again in 21, they won some municipalities back from the ANC, if I remember, if not just one.
That wasn't because of Zuma leaving the ANC as well?
It could well be.
Okay.
At what point do we acknowledge IFP success as, its own capitalization from the political opportunities?
Its own good work and not the failures of others.
So yes, indeed, there may be a Zuma factor.
Sure.
And the big issue now is how do they survive having former President Zuma in the mix, also campaigning? Because the effect, in my view, would probably be the same in some parts of KZN, as though there was an NFP splinter, which in fact it may be even a bigger issue today. But I'm saying that mindful of the fact that notwithstanding President Zuma in 2016 in the queues reassuring the ANC in Gandla that they were going to win and the people smiling in camera, only for the outcome to be an IFP outcome.
Yeah, Nkandla is run by IFP.
Yeah.
Do you think the IFP is dying?
I don't think so. No, I don't think they are done. They are going to give the emerging new parties a run for their money.
You really believe so?
I think so.
So the IFP was the fourth most voted for political party at the last national elections.
Yes. Something they're displaced from. But what's interesting in KZN is that they have surpassed, in terms of the poll that ENCA has done, they have surpassed the ANC, they have surpassed the EFF to become second to MKP. That's one piece of data. It's flawed, but it's interesting. I don't think they're going to be, I don't think in the same way that UDM is going and COPE are going to be struggling.
What do you think of Umkhonto weSizwe, and how do you think it's going to perform this year?
I think that they are making an offering in two populous provinces, KZN and Gauteng.
Sure.
And whatever shortcomings they may have in the rest of the country, the success in those two provinces are going to catapult them to some significant role nationally. I don't see them going past 4%.
That's a lot.
Nationally.
Let me just give the context for the last national elections, which were 2019.
Sure.
The ANC led at 57.5%. 57.5%. That was 10 million of the 17 million votes.
Sure.
The DA came second with 20.7%. And at the time, Musi Maimane was the face of the DA. This is 2019.
Oh, yeah.
John Steenhuisen is going to be on now. The EFF came in at 10.8%. Then you had the IFP fourth at 3.3%. Freedom Front Plus fifth at 2.3%. Now, my projections for this year, and this is just the top guys, in my opinion. I project the ANC to lose about 5.5% of the votes to get to 52.
Okay.
So to still have a majority. Contrary to what a lot of people are kind of hoping for. I am hoping for them to go under 50, but I'm trying to be rooted in reality, especially based on the work they do on the ground. So I'm projecting 52%. The DA, I'm projecting to go down 2% to 18. Okay. Largely because they're losing Umusi, they've lost Herman. I think there are going to be certain black voters who may move to action. I don't know how many will go to Iposa ya Musi. And then at the time, a lot of white and maybe Afrikaans voters were not happy with the movement the DA was doing. And they jumped to the Freedom Front Plus, which grew. And some of them might be comfortable with the Freedom Front Plus or other more, I don't know if you'd call it right-wing, conservative, other more conservative parties and be like, no, this DA seems woke. We're not really sure. So I'm projecting the DA to go down 2%. I'm projecting the EFF to go up about 3% or 2% and some change from 10.8 to 13, driven by young people and the university graduates who are part of EFF youth societies at tertiary level coming up and being like, so I'm hoping they'll go up by 3%. I see Action SA as a new player. I think I might be overhyping them. But a part of it is their success in the local elections, and it looks like the structures they are building on the ground seem to be quite brilliant. I'm putting them at 4.5. It's very high. Very high. I might bring it down to like 3. I might revise it, but 4.5. I'm putting the IFP to go down marginally to 2.7 from 3.3. The Freedom Front Plus marginally sort of stay the same from 2.3 to 2%. And then I see the PA, Gates and McKenzie, which got 0.04%. They were nobodies. They were newcomers at the last elections, to come in at 2%, with the MK coming in at 2%, which contrasts your 4. Those are my predictions.
I mostly agree with them, save for the ANC, where you put the ANC.
Sure.
Now, my argument is that the ANC is going to drop below 40%, below 50%, and it's a question of degrees. Some time ago, I got a prompting that said, it was in fact the morning of where results were expected from the ICJ. I got this feeling that the ANC might have just edged over 50% at that time. Now, because it didn't come to me by the natural mechanisms I use to arrive at knowledge, I just put a note to it and said, I'm going to stick to my analytical self and stay here. Because I also respect the difference between what I get to know through proper analysis and stuff, and what comes to me sometimes by other means.
Sure.
so it's quite interesting. It's going to be interesting what comes up after the elections. But based on my natural abilities, I doubt that the ANC is going to be at 50% or close there.
48.
Between 46 and 47, I think.